Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and a lot of people since the debacle that was Joe Biden's performance have been talking about replacing Joe Biden. A lot of people are whispering Gavin Newsom, even though I've talked about how that's actually impractical because you end up having to be in a situation where you have to replace the first black female vice presidential candidate, Kamala Harris, since they're both from the same state, and that is going to spell trouble for the election prospects because you can't have them on the same ticket and I believe receive the delegates from California. Essentially, it's a disaster. So if you were to put in Newsom, you would have to replace both. Not to mention the fact that Gavin Newsom is not going to give up a sure thing in his mind, aka the 2028 nomination, in order to run in 2024 when a swap almost guarantees a loss. I know a lot of people are down on Joe Biden, especially on the Democratic side, but to be clear, he has a better chance than any other replacement candidate due to the fact that that will be viewed as incredibly shady. However, Kamala Harris is definitely campaigning for this job. Kamala Harris is definitely trying to show everybody that she's the real deal, that she is the genuine article, but the problem is Kamala Harris may be one of the worst politicians in the history of ever. And today we're going to examine Kamala Harris talking with some actor lady that I've never heard of, and this may be the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life, the worst thing I've ever heard in my entire life, and it is set up much in the same way as her VP announcement, which is a FaceTime phone call with this Hollywood actress lady, or maybe she's a singer. Who the hell cares? Definitely not me. And it may be the most horrible thing you've ever seen in your entire life. Now, we're going to get into this. But before we do, thank you to everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
No, Taraji. Now, you know I wouldn't do that, especially not to a fellow bison.
So first of all, right off the top, I have to point out the way that these human beings are holding these phones is incredibly interesting, to me at least, because there is no way, shape, or form that this awkward cell phone holding method that Kamala Harris uses is in any way, shape, or form human. She is obviously a reptilian, and if not for the fact that YouTube's terms of service definitely has rules against conspiracy theorizing, I would say that that is not a joke. So right off the top, this is weird, but we also have this Taraji lady holding her phone like this, and I just want to say there is no way that these people can hear one another. On top of that, anytime, and I mean absolutely anytime, you have cameras set up for both ends of the phone call, it is clearly and obviously fake and staged and weird and uncomfortable. So I just want to say I don't like this. On top of that, if this weren't staged, I would not like the fact that Kamala Harris is wasting her time calling actresses, maybe singers. Again, never gonna look up this woman ever in my entire life, and having these kind of conversations with them, and this is supposed to be presented as authentic. But let us point out that Kamala does much worse than just her cell phone hand-holding technique.
Especially not to a fellow bison. The real HU, you know.
So look, right here, I was already done. I was already checked out. The cringe meter had already exploded beyond repair. Mercury was leaking all over the floors, and that was because of this way that was said. So they both went to the same university. That is their connection, a historically black university, I'm assuming. And Kamala Harris is like, not to a fellow bison. And then she says, the real HU. And I just want to say, this was really horrible. It was horrible in every possible way. But the most horrible part was the way that Kamala Harris said, you know.
The real HU, you know.
Listen, I'm not an expert on whether or not a person is black or not. I am not the sheriff of Blackness Town. Let us be clear about that. But there is a reason why that when Kamala Harris was the Attorney General in the state of California, she was celebrated as the first Indian Attorney General of the state of California, because she is in fact half Indian. Now again, she is also half black. Her father is from Jamaica. Let us be clear about that, those of you who are trying to do racial policing and whatnot, but it just made more sense back then in California for her to be the first Indian person in that position for her political purposes. But also, and again, I'm not the sheriff of Blacktown. I do not work at Blackstone. I do not work at BlackRock, so I'm not an expert on whether or not a human person being happens to be a black person. But the fact that she can't deliver the "you know" line is absolutely shameful. Just hear that inflection, and then I, somebody who's distinctly not black, will give you the proper inflection that you're supposed to deliver that.
The real H-U? You know.
You know, no, that is not the way that it's supposed to go. It's supposed to be, you know, like something like that. That's how you're supposed to deliver it. Again, this is just me, somebody who has been accused very often of being monotone, being able to deliver that appropriately. You give them you know, something like that. That's how you're supposed to deliver it. But Kamala Harris cannot pull it off. And honestly, this right here is where I can stop the video. This right here is where we can nail her to the wall on being an absolute fraud. And it makes perfect sense when you think about it, because Kamala Harris's father was a professor and Kamala Harris's mother was a microbiologist. She was a scientist. So the idea that Kamala is in the hood and she's talking like this in any kind of way is absurd in every possible way. And it comes out clear as day right here, but it's gonna get much, much worse.
So what's on your mind?
Oh, Madam VP Harris, I'm worried about the election.
So like I said, I don't know this Taraji lady, and again, I will not look her up, still haven't done it, and she may or may not be an actor lady. But if she is an actor lady, her acting is almost as pitiful as Kamala Harris, and actually that makes it worse, because supposedly she's supposed to be an actor lady, and that was terrible. Oh, I'm just so concerned about the election, and Kamala's like, tell me what's on your mind, Taraji. I'm from the hood, you know, same university, blah.
Women's reproductive rights are on the line. Our Supreme Court is on the line. Our basic freedoms are being tested, Madam VP. I know you've been traveling across the country. What are you hearing?
Again, the delivery, horrible, horrendous, terrible. Our basic freedoms are on the line. Women's reproductive freedoms are on the line. The Supreme Court, Madam VP, I know you've been out there. What have you been hearing? Is this really the best the Democrats can do? Is this really the best offering? Joe Biden goes out and he lays an egg on stage. He's an absolute disaster. Again, not even speaking Joe Biden was as bad or worse than speaking Joe Biden whenever they did the split screens. And then Kamala Harris is like, oh, wow, they're talking about replacing Joe. I got my people writing articles that say that they should give me a chance. And I'm going to come out with this. I'm going to come out and show that no matter how senile Joe Biden is, Kamala Harris is significantly worse. And honestly, I think it would work. I think if I'm a Democratic voter and I watch Joe Biden be 85% dead on stage versus Donald Trump, and then I look at Kamala Harris right here doing this with this lady, I'd still pull it for Joe Biden. I'm not going to lie. I would still 100% vote for him. And honestly, in a hypothetical head-to-head matchup, you wouldn't even need a gun to my head. I would vote for old Joe. I would vote for Mr. Biden. All his problems in there, whatever, it doesn't matter, because the one thing that we know about Joe Biden is that he absolutely does not like Kamala Harris, and the only reason he picked her as VP is because he had already promised to pick a woman. Then the Black Lives Matter riots happened, so he had to pick the highest ranking woman in the Democratic Party that happened to be black, or at least half black, in order to fill that slot. Nobody on the Biden campaign team liked Kamala. Nobody on the Biden campaign team wanted Kamala. They felt insulted by Kamala because she implied that Biden was a racist. By the way, turned around and joined up right with that racist right after the fact. And they were looking for anyone and anyone to replace her or not be her on the ticket.
Girl, I'm out here in these streets. And let me tell you, you're right, Taraji.
Yes, you just heard that right. Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States of America, the former Attorney General of California, the former Attorney General of San Francisco, or whatever version of that position that she held there, District Attorney, I don't know why I just spazzed on that, just said, I'm out here in these streets. Harris, do me a favor, cut it out. Stop it. There's a reason your father already doesn't like you, and that was because you pretended that you were this pot smoker that was listening to Tupac while you were in college, even though the time period when you were in university was years before he ever dropped an album or anything of the sort. You're a fraud. You're a fake. We understand you grew up in a hyper-privileged background. You grew up with a microbiologist mother, or at least a biologist scientist mother, and a professor father. You are not from these streets. You are not from any streets.
There is so much at stake in this moment. The majority of us believe in freedom and equality.
Seriously, from me to you, from everybody out there in the United States of America, not just my audience, shut up. Shut your face. Stop talking. Please, all you would have to do, honestly, if you wanted to take this slot from Joe Biden, if they were going to replace them, is just never speak. Never give us any inclination of the person that you are, and you would be more successful as a politician than any time you try to relate to the people. Again, this woman just said she's out in these streets. She's getting the word on the street. She's playing b-ball in the hood. What's good in the hood? I'm Kamala Harris, and I'm just like you. I'm not like those people. I'm your people. I'm sorry, y'all's people. You know, because you low-class garbage human beings that Kamala Harris was never allowed to associate with throughout her entire life due to her very upper-class, very strict parents. That's how you talk, because you don't know proper grammar, because you're ignorant rubes. You just happen to be African-Americans, so you'll relate to me because I'm vaguely black, and I sometimes talk like you with piss-poor grammar. Shut up, Kamala. Seriously, everybody. You guys know that I'm 100% right about this. Shut your face.
But these extremists, as they say, they not like us.
They not.
What the hell am I watching? What the hell has been forced onto my screen before my very eyes that I now wear glasses so I can see much more clearly? These extremists, as they say in the hoods, as they say in the hippity hop communities, they ain't like us. They ain't like nothing like us and our people. Aren't we so cool now that I'm talking like the rubes that, again, my family would never let me associate with? These garbage people that as a prosecutor I targeted throughout the entirety of my career, and then when it became convenient for me to pretend to be a reformer and not be a tough on crime prosecutor, I totally flipped and started supporting their bail fund. Yeah, oh yeah, we just like you. This is how we talk in old Kamala Harris's hood. You know, actually, you know what, never mind. She had to say, you know, because, you know, she can't actually do the you know. So yeah, that's what we're dealing with right here. And honestly, this actor lady probably came from a similarly privileged background or so disconnected from the community because her acting and her phrasing is absolutely horrible as well.
They not like us.
They not.
Nah, they not like us. We in the streets talking together. Me, you, Kamala, we going to the barbecue and we're drinking Colt 45 on the corner store, and that's how we roll, Kamala.
There's a full-on attack on our fundamental freedoms. The freedom to vote. Yep. The freedom to love who you love, the freedom to be safe from gun violence.
And that's where this clip ends. And thank God, honestly, that I have no idea the origin of this clip, because it feels like this is longer. It feels like on the front end and the back end, there's additional material right here. But honestly, this is too much. I cannot endure this. And you guys out there in my audience cannot endure this as well. This might be one of the worst things I've ever seen in my entire life. Now, I know there's videos of Kamala Harris talking about how they don't have the collard greens that she's used to cooking up because she knows about collard greens. Don't you blacks like collard greens?
That was me in my suit and heels walking through Charleston International Airport carrying 2 big plastic bags full of fresh South Carolina collard greens. It's a true story. And yes, as I walked on the plane, there were a few people who gave me the look and the nod.
And she had to take him on a plane with her, but honestly, it's too much. The pandering levels are off the charts, and let's be perfectly honest, this woman who grew up in an Indian and Jamaican household was not cooking low-class Southern food. And by the way, Southern food is absolutely delicious. I've been to Nashville, I've had it, believe me, it's got some little unhealthy elements to it, let's be perfectly honest. And black populations, American black populations, their entire cuisine is based on Southern cuisine that they bring throughout the country. So yeah, there is some connection there, but that connection doesn't go as far when you're Jamaican and Indian.
You are Indian.
Yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that, but I find that wherever I go and I see Indian people at the supermarket, on the street, everyone's like, Kamala Harris is Indian, right? It's like the thing we're so excited about to have you running for president.
Yeah.
So we're both Indian,
Yes.
but actually we're both South Indian.
Yes.
You look like the entire one half of my family.
Okay, thank you.
You do.
I've been telling people
You
we're
do.
related already,
Yeah.
so this is perfect. It's basically true. And so were you raised eating South Indian food?
South Indian food, lots of rice and yogurt, potato curry, dal, lots of dal, idli.
Yes, Italy. That's a deep cut.
Let's be perfectly honest, Kamala Harris was not cooking the collard greens in the hood in these streets with these folks at the old barbecue listening to the hippity hop while drinking the Colt 45, But this is where we are in American politics. Pandering is off the charts. This is what the Democratic Party, the People's Party, the party of the minorities, the party that usually gets 90+% of the black vote, thinks of the black voter. They're just gonna pander and pander and pander, say words that hopefully trigger a reaction amongst the population, no matter how stupid, no matter how stereotypical, and they're gonna hope that you pull that lever for Mr. Biden and for Madam Kamala Harris. This is what American politics is, and honestly, I'd say it's shameful, but let's be real. This is what it's been for a very long time. Anyway, as you know, that's all I really have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then show them by leaving a like. You can subscribe for more content. You can follow me on all my social medias where I will be doing recipes with collard greens. So subscribe to this channel. Support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about Kamala Harris's absolute cringe. Till next time.